Hello, everybody. I'm Chris. Wowee! All right, we're going to talk about some exciting stuff today. All right, it is SPFx, of course, so we're going to jump over to our Mockingbird site. All right, so we got our Mockingbirds, and as you know, the Mockingbirds are quite mean. They love to mock and do mean things, but they're also lovely developers. And when they're developing, right, they use React usually with their SPFx parts, and then of course, just to make things easier, they're using the Fluent UI control set for that, right? And that's great, but they are extremely angry as they put together a quick web part, which we're going to take a look at here. So let's head over to our mock bench. And there we go. I've already got it added to the workbench here. And you can see, so I built this little exciting demo. Woo! Where you can pick one of the few icons I filled out, right? And it'll replace that. It'll show it being used in a ton of different Fluent UI controls. There are a few more that use the icons, right? But these are just the controls laid out using that same icon. But what you'll notice here is that I've got a cat, I've got a dog, right? But I don't have a bird. What the heck? And if I head over to something like flycon.io, where I can search for icons, right? And I search for bird, the only one is this old Twitter logo. No thanks. All right, even the Mockingbirds have their standards, right? So they don't want to use this guy, but they want to use a bird icon, right, inside their SPFx controls. But they don't want to just have to, manually set these every time, create their own buttons, all this stuff. They want to be able to use their own icon directly in here. Well, good news, they can. How exciting! So let's take a look at this code first, and then I'll show you how we can add our own custom icons in a couple of different ways. So let's head over to the code. Ooh, fancy code. All right. So the first thing is we'll just look at that actual web part, right? This is a React web part. We're not going to look through the code in real depth here. All right, so you can see this is where I've pulled out those icons, right, that I got from Flycon, and I just listed them here, and then blah, 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 create a dropdown. And then here is just each one of those sections, right? There's a default button with the icon, there's the selected icon, so you can see. And all this is a sample you can look at later. But the idea is you pick an icon and then I reference it by name in all of these various controls. Wow, that's exciting. Okay, now I think everybody's got the basic idea here, right? So again, we pick an icon and then it shows up and it works all across these things, right? So these are all the official icons. There is no bird icon. We are sad. Let's go add a bird icon. So I happen to have found, through my amazing Google skills, when I typed in Freebird SVG, right, I found this one. Surprisingly, not a Leonard Skinner song, right? But here it is, our Freebird SVG. It's wonderful. And if we take a look at the actual text of that, right, here it is. Wow, very exciting. It's just a single path. This one happens to be pretty simple. But you could go with, a more elaborate one. You could do one with custom colors. You can do all sorts of cool stuff here. But let's take a look at how we can take this SVG file and make it show up the way we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a little file in our utils, right? So we're going to create a new file, and we're going to call this custom icons.tsx. It's a TSX file because we are going to work with JSX elements directly, which I will show you. All right, so we're going to create a little thing called register custom icons. You know what? Let's make this a little bigger. There we go. So you can actually read this, right? So then we're going to say, yeah, that looks great. Void, perfect. Ignore that. Right, I'm going to register icons. So this is something that Fluent UI provides, right? This is a register icons function. Ooh, fancy. Right, so now let's register an icon. So the way this works is you can just specify icons. And now icons, you specify them with the name of the icon. So in this case, we're going to call it the Mockingbird. Right, and then you could pass in either a string or a JS what I forgot element. Right, there you go. So that's what we're going to do. But in order to do that, right, we have to have it to be able to recognize those. So let's go ahead and import React, right, so that when we paste an SVG here, it works. So now we can literally take our SVG from over here, copy this guy, whop, and then come back. Ooh, not that one. Not that one, this one. And we're going to paste it in here, like this, We're going to do a JSX element. Boom. All right, let's make that look a little better. Golly. All right, good enough, right? That is so beautiful. Okay, so now we've got this. Very exciting. It's got a view box. It has some fixed sizes and heights, so we might need to clean this up just a little bit. And so that's what we're going to do. So this will replace, and now we should have let's go ahead and close this thing out. So we close this out. There we go. And we'll come back to this. Let's head over to our web part. That's this one, right? Where we up top. What did I do? I'm losing my place here. Aha! Here we are, right? So we've got this. So I have this little custom section here. Well, I will add my own icons there by name, right? Oh, Mockingbird. It's almost like I had done this demo before. Perfect. Okay, so let's save all of that. Now we're not actually calling this yet, so let's call it. Right, and we're going to call that because we just want to register this at the top of our web part. We're going to say here in our on init event, right? We're just going to say register custom icons. There we go. Let's call that. And so what that's going to do is any icons I want to add, right? It's going to call our little thing there, and it's going to add those as an SVG. And if we take a look, what did it do? Should we have a Mockingbird? We do. Oh gosh, that's no good, right? So let's go fix that. But you can see it's starting to show up. It's starting to show up everywhere, right? Not what we want. So let's show how we fix that. All right. You might have guessed that keeping the hard-coded height and width was a problem. So let's fix that. So what we want to do is these are going to be treated almost as if they are fonts, right? We want them to work like they're fonts. So what we can do is we can say this is 1 EM, right? So let's say match the font size, basically 1 EM. And we save that and we go back. Ooh, let's go back and pick our Mockingbird. Oh, look at that. Now we've got a Mockingbird, and it's starting to show up. That's cool. But there's a couple other things that are a little weird here, right? For instance, we'll notice that if we pick, say the balloons, you'll see that it's automatically doing some colors, right? The primary button switches over, but Mockingbird is not. Oh, so let's fix that as well. Again, we're going to try and treat this as text. So by default, if you've not specified, any colors in here, it's just going to use black. So we're just going to specify, because we want this to be theme aware, current color. What that'll do is take whatever the current text color is and use it. So if we save that guy, we can come back here and let's pick our Mockingbird once again. Ooh, fancy. That's really cool. Now, there's 2 other properties that you should add each time. For accessibility. So let's go ahead and add those. That would be ARIA hidden, right? And we're going to set that to true. And then we're going to set the focusable to false, right? That just keeps it from being interactable and causing problems with screen readers. And that is how all of the other icons work. So that's just us playing nice, right? So now we have ourselves a custom icon. Woohoo! That's exciting. But let's go a little further. So, what are we doing here with this? Get out of here, team. We don't need that junk there. Okay, so let's go a little further, right? So, what if I've got my own font icons, right? I've got my own font, or I'm using a third-party font, like I've got Material, or I've got Font Awesome. I want to be able to use those alongside all of the Fluent icons. Well, you could do that, right? So let's take Font Awesome because it's free. Right, so if I go back here and I go to Font Awesome, right, there's all these free icon packs, right? So here's 1,422 free icons. Cool, I want to use those, right? So if I were to pick one, like in this case, I can't choose it because of the Teams thing. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Aha! So what I was pointing out here is, I'm just looking at an individual icon of Font Awesome, right? I could do the same thing I did. I could go to the SVG and I could copy this thing out. But you just saw there's 1,400 plus icons, and if I've got the free one, it's like 67. Or not, if I got the pro, I might have up to like 67,000 icons. And this sounds no fun. I don't want to do that, right? Plus, Font Awesome provides very nice. You can either do a font kit yourself, or you can reference their fonts through CDN and so on. And so let's take a look at that. Luckily, Fluent lets us do it that way too. So let's head on back here. So we've got to register custom icons, but what if we were to do Font Awesome icons? Ooh. So let's do it. Okay, let's try that one more time. New file. Font Awesome icons. We'll just make this a TS file because we're not going to work with any JSX elements directly. I mean, we could, but we're not going to. All right, so let's just do this as well. So export icons, register font awesome icons, perfect. And then we're going to say register icons just like we did before. All right, there it is. But in this time, instead of just specifying the icons as JSX elements like we did, we're going to specify a font face up front. So we could say a font face. This is where we're saying like, hey, use a font, right? And there you go. It's got some autocomplete. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this part in so that I don't have to do it right in front of you. Although that is fun. Oops, it's commented. Oh, yeah. There we go. Okay. So let's take a look at what we did here. I copied font face twice. How exciting. Woo! Write code hard. All right, we'll leave that there. It's upset we haven't put in icons yet, so let's put in the icons. There we go. Okay. So now what we have here is our registrar. Let's close out this function. There we go. Quit your whining. Perfect. So what I've done is I've placed a URL, like a source, right, for the CDN location of the font awesome icon, font. That's cool. I've just specified a few things. All of this is just information that is available on the Font Awesome website. But while I'm doing that, now I can specify icons here, right? So I can actually say things like my FA magnify. This is what I'm gonna call it. So I'm putting the FA myself, right? Now, where did I get this UF688? Well, that was that Unicode value up here, right? There it is. There's the copy of the Unicode button. That's pretty cool. So now if I come back here, all right, now I'm registering a Font Awesome icon. Let's save that. Let's head over here and let's make sure we actually call it register Font Awesome icons. Woo woo. There we go. And then we come back here, and of course, let's make sure they show up. I'm just going to uncomment several of these. There we go. Save that, and let's check out our web part. How are we doing on the web part? Well, did you refresh? You did. Okay. So now you'll start to see a few weird things, right? So now we got Font Awesome listed, but you can see none of them are working, right? This one's probably not working because I called it the wrong name. So let's go fix that. Did I? Let's see. Or did I not actually call it? I don't know. Either way, let's just grab the working one instead of relying on my amazing typing skills. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and register this as well. Let's just update the import. So this is the other thing here. So you'll notice that there are a lot of these icons have different names, right, for legacy reasons. Like a classic one is house is also home. In fact, it's got a couple different ones, right? So you can actually specify an alias, right? So you're like, hey, if I call it FA search $, just use this one, right? So that's pretty nice. This is something, again, provided by Fluent. So if we save everything, I think that was our problem. We didn't save, maybe. Saving hard. Okay. So now we should have, there we go. So now I've registered those, right? Look at that. So by doing that, it fully works as expected. That's pretty cool, right? So now I've got Font Awesome icons, and now I just have, 1,421 more to do. Right? And, this is a completely fine approach. If you're doing, very specific ones, right, you're just adding a few, right? This is very easy. Do it this way. That's great. What I'm going to show you now, in the last little bit of time here, is a way to do this a little more automatic. And so ahead of time, I've gone ahead and gone into my package, and I've added a dev dependency. So it's a dev dependency. It will not get bundled into my project. There's a number of ways to do this. I could do this with a regular dependency if I wanted to take the Font Awesome packages and load them directly that way and not rely on a CDN. That's all totally cool. It all works with this approach as well. But in this case, I'm just going to pull in Font Awesome, the package so that I can reference it in a local script, which I've got a local script already added to my scripts here called update FA icons, right? And if we take a look at that, what that's doing is it's going to the node modules to a file, and it's reading through all of that, and it's going to output everything to a JSON file inside the project, right? So what the file is going to get is this crazy thing, right? That's got, just going to magnifying glass $, it's 75,000 lines in, right? So this is a huge file. It's got a ton of information we don't care about, right? All we care about, right, is the name and that Unicode value, which is somewhere in here, right? The Unicode. There you go. So that's what this script does. I'm not going to go through the script. I'm just going to run the script, and then you can check out the sample later if you want to do it. So let's just run that script. There we go. We run the script. Ooh. So look at that. It found all of these different icons. And what that's going to do is it creates this nicer JSON for us that tells us what styles they belong to, the Unicode value for the individual icons, and so on. So it just kind of cleans that up for us. That's all the script does. Creates a little JSON file for us. Very nice, very fancy. So now if I come back to my font awesome registration, and let's get rid of this guy, and let's do our own version. I'm going to copy and paste. And let's just grab this whole file. There we go. And wham! There we go. You didn't like something. Oh, because I got rid of my imports, maybe. Ooh, font import. What is that? Bonk. There we go. We'll fix it. Okay, so now what we're doing is we are pulling in that JSON file, and then we're just going through it, and we're doing the exact same thing. This is just a fancier way of dividing it up, and it's adding the prefixes automatically, right? And it's registering them, and it's even coming down here and looking through all those aliases and adding those as well. Ooh. So now when we run this thing, let's see, let's come back over here. Now you can see, oh, we've got a bunch of icons, including our beloved Pooh Storm. Who doesn't love Pooh Storm, right? What a great icon. You're going to need that at some point for your weather app, obviously, right? Or you've got your flying spaghetti monster. Now, that's one of the things that points out, like some of these, you can see, unlike the Fluent UI, do have slightly different widths. So you're going to have to account for some of these or, do something with that. But that allows you to take advantage of all sorts of things. So you can extend this same pattern, right, to a custom icon font that you've got, to material icons, right, any number of things out there. You can go grab some free SVGs. You can grab, your company logo, whatever it is, right? And then by doing that, ooh, you get to use them in all the controls. Wow! All right, let's get out of here. All right. Just to summarize, so you can look at this, right? So use that register icons function from Fluent, right? And you can specify the name of a JSX element, right? Those are the settings you need to add. Make sure you do that. Oh. And then, of course, you can also do the icon fonts, where you specify the font face, and you give it the name and the glyph, the Unicode value. If you wanted to grab the Font Awesome React library, you could do it that way too. But again, the whole idea is to get it to work inside the Fluent UI without you having to do anything beyond just this initial setup. And that's it. That's all I got for you. Wow.